Hello, this is lesson 6 of Prepositions with CINCILINGUA live classes. Hi, my name is Kathy. I want to welcome you to lesson 6 of Prepositions with CINCILINGUA live classes. If you have any questions, you can move your mouse around until you see this icon that says chat. And when you click on chat, it will open up a rectangle for you. And at the bottom of the rectangle is a place for you to type your question. When you hit enter, I will be able to see your question. And I will answer questions at the end of the lesson. If for any reason we run out of time and there's not enough time to answer all the questions, then I will begin the next class with questions. But this is a lesson about prepositions, so let's see which prepositions we're going to talk about today. Hopefully, these will be pretty easy to understand. The first preposition is in front of, a position ahead of or facing something. For example, in front of the house or in front of the mirror. And we're going to have some pictures to show along with some examples that will help you to understand better. The second preposition will be in back of or behind. These typically mean the same thing, in back of or behind. Mean farther back than, or sometimes hidden by. Another example, in back of the house or hiding behind the tree. Inside, meaning enclosed by or surrounded by. And again, when you see the pictures, it will be easier for you to understand. The example here is inside the house. Outside. This is the opposite of inside. Children like to play outside. Next to and beside mean pretty much the same thing as one another. These are almost the same. Next to and beside, meaning to the side of. He sat next to me in class. He sat beside me in class. Near and close to. Here are two others that are also very similar. Near and close to. A short distance away. The school is near my house. The school is close to my house. Far from, meaning a long distance away. The store is far from my house. Let's look at the pictures that show the examples. In front of, a position ahead of or facing something. I was walking in the woods and suddenly noticed that there was a 4-leaf clover right in front of me. So here I am walking in the woods, and I look down, and further ahead of something, farther ahead of me is this clover, and these clovers down here are 3-leaf clovers. In this example, it talks about a 4-leaf clover. I don't know about your country or your culture, but in the United States, if you find a 4-leaf clover, that is considered to be good luck. So if you're walking, and you look down and, oh my goodness, right in front of you, just a little farther ahead than you are, you see a 4-leaf clover, we will think that you have good luck. In front of, and this time it means facing something. Sean stood in front of the group as he gave a presentation for his job. So here is Sean, here is the group. Now the group is looking at him and he is looking at them. This means they are facing one another. Their faces are looking at one another. They are facing one another. So Sean stood in front of the group. They are facing each other, and also the group is here and Sean is farther ahead in the room than they are. So this example meets both of the definitions. He is farther ahead than they are, but also he is facing them. He is looking at them. If he turned around so that he was looking at the wall, he would still be in front of them, but he would not give a very good presentation if they had to look at his back. Usually you are facing someone when you give a presentation to them. I don't know. Sometimes people will show a slideshow like this. They will they have everyone look at the picture that is on the wall, and they don't care that people can see their mouth or not see their mouth. So sometimes maybe he will be reading what is on the wall and his eyes will be looking at that picture and you can't see his mouth. So then he would not be facing the group. But in this picture, he is facing the group. Here's another example of facing something. For in front of. The dance class stood in front of the mirror so they could see themselves as their teacher gave them instructions. So here is the dance class, and here is the mirror, and they are in front of the mirror. They are facing the mirror. Their faces right here are looking at the faces in the mirror, and it seems that the faces in the mirror are looking at them. So in front of, they are in front of the mirror. What about you? Do you spend much time in front of the mirror when you get ready for work or school in the morning? Do you take a long time to fix your hair or perhaps to wash your face, put on any makeup, shave? I don't know. Maybe you are only for a short time in front of the mirror, or maybe you spend a lot of time in front of the mirror. Here's another in front of. In this case, it is a position ahead of. The bride and groom stood in front of their family and friends as they said their vows. So in this wedding, there's a bride and a groom, and they are farther ahead than the people that are sitting here, their family and friends that are sitting. The family and friends are sitting, and then you walk farther, 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 and here are the bride and groom. And in this case, the bride and groom are not facing the people sitting down. So they are in front of because they are farther ahead, not because they are facing each other. Now here, when it talks about saying their vows, when you have a wedding, most of the time, the people that are marrying one another will say some promises to each other. I promise to love you always. I promise to be faithful to you. I promise to take care of you. All of these kinds of promises, they are called vows. And when you promise something that is a vow, it is very serious. It is more serious than if I say to you, I promise I will come meet you for coffee on Friday. Sorry about that. See if I can get this to close. I'm sorry. That's how what happens in live lessons. Sometimes things pop up. Anyway, if I promise to meet you for coffee on Friday and then I have to break that promise for some reason, maybe my car breaks down or whatever, that is not as serious or as important as a vow that I would take during my wedding. So a vow is a very, very important promise. And here the bride and the groom are making their vows, their important promise, in front of their family and their friends. Okay, one more example of being in front of, a position ahead of. Latrice let her dog walk in front of her as she went down the sidewalk. So here is the dog, and here is Latrice. So Latrice is walking, 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 and the dog is farther in front of her. He is farther ahead than she is. So he is in the front. He is in front of her. So here's an example with a dog, but it's the opposite example. In back of or behind means farther back than or sometimes hidden by. Philip's family trained their dog to walk in back of Philip, or Philip's family trained their dog to walk behind Philip. We can either say in back of or we can say behind. This helped the dog to understand that she should obey Philip. He is her leader. He is the leader because he is in the front. The dog is in the back. The dog is in back of Philip or behind Philip. The dog is walking, 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 but Philip here is farther ahead and the dog is farther back. So since the dog is farther back, we say the dog is in back of or behind. In back of or behind. Here's another example of in back of and behind, meaning farther back than. I sat in back of Missy in the canoe, or I sat behind Missy in the canoe. She is in the front of the boat, and I am sitting in the back. So this picture is taken. It is like I am the person taking the picture. I am sitting in the back of the boat, and I can see this person, Missy, in front of me. Missy is in the front of the boat. The person taking the picture is in the back of the boat. And because we are farther back than Missy, she's farther ahead, we are farther back. We would say that we are in back of her or we are behind her. Either one is fine in this situation. Here, we're going to talk about in back of or behind. In this case, it means kind of hidden by. Nadia hid in back of the tree, playing hide and seek with the children. Or Nadia hid behind the tree, playing hide and seek with the children. To me, because this is an example about hiding, behind sounds better. But both of these, behind and in back of, would both work. So here is the tree, and behind the tree is Nadia. She is in back of the tree or behind the tree. If we are standing on this side of the tree here, maybe we cannot see her. She is hiding behind the tree. And she is hiding because she is playing a game called hide and seek. Hide and seek. I don't know if you have this game in your culture. I know in France, they play hide and seek. They call it cache-cache. But in the game of hide and seek, one person closes their eyes and begins to count. Everyone has agreed how many they count. Maybe they count to 20 or 50 or 100. And when this person is counting with their eyes closed, everyone else in the game runs very quietly and finds a place to hide. And then when the person is finished with the counting, they will yell, "Here I come," and they run and they try to look in every place they can think to find someone who is hiding. And the idea of the game is to hide in such a good hiding spot that no one can find you. And at the end of the game, maybe the person that is seeking means looking for, the person that is seeking all of the hiding people, maybe they have found everyone. Or maybe there is someone that is still not found. And we have something very silly that we say if we cannot find someone. We say, Ollie, Ollie, income free. Ollie, like someone's name, O-L-L-I-E. O-L-L-I-E is Ollie, 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 income free. And it means if you're hiding, you can come in and nobody's going to try to tag you or touch you or say that you are the next person, kind of like you were the winner because you were able to hide and no one could find you. I don't know why we say Ollie, and I don't know why we say in, come, free instead of come in. Usually, if I want you to enter my house, I will say, come in my house. Or I'm at school and in the classroom, I could say to some students, come on, come into the classroom. Come in is the normal way to say that, not income. Ollie, Ollie, income free. I don't know why we yell that, but that's what we say at the end of a game of hide and seek when someone has done a very good job of hiding and no one can find them. But the important word in this example is in back of or behind. So she is not hiding. She did not climb up into the tree, and she's not inside of anything. She is in back of or behind a tree so that she can hide. Okay, here's another in back of or behind, meaning farther back than or sometimes hidden by. Rhonda hid the flowers behind her back, so they would be a surprise. So she has some flowers to give someone. She's walking to see that person. She does not want that person to see the flowers yet. And so she has the flowers in her hand, and her hand is behind her back. Behind her back. So this is hidden by. Okay, they are behind her back. They are farther back than her back, but they're also hidden. I like to say behind in this case when we're talking about hiding something. We could say Rhonda hid the flowers in back of her, so they wouldn't be a surprise. In back of her. This sentence is possible, but it sounds kind of awkward. In this case, especially, we wouldn't say in back of her back. In back of her back. Maybe in back of the table or in back of the chair. But even in that case, I think when you're hiding something, hiding it behind sounds better than in back of. If we're just only talking about being farther back than, either one, in back of or behind. If you are hiding something or if you are hiding yourself, I think usually behind sounds like the best choice. Inside. Inside means enclosed by or surrounded by. After you put the letter inside the envelope and you drop that inside the mailbox, you cannot get it back out. A mail carrier must use a key to open the mailbox to reach the letters. So here's two examples of inside. This white letter is being put inside of an envelope to mail it. Now, some people say this word envelope, E-N, envelope. Some people say this envelope. Envelope, envelope. Both of them are fine. Either way that you want to say it, it doesn't make a difference. It matters probably what state or city you live in. What did your parents say more often? But everyone in the United States will understand if you say envelope, and they will also understand if you say envelope. It's just two different ways to pronounce the same word. Either way, the letter is going to be enclosed by or surrounded by this pink envelope, meaning that once you put the letter in here and you close that, every side of that white letter will be covered up. It will be enclosed by or surrounded by. It will be covered by this pink envelope or envelope. And then when we put this letter inside of this blue mailbox and it goes down on the inside, every part of this pink envelope will be covered or surrounded or enclosed by the mailbox. So it will be inside the mailbox. Another example of inside being enclosed by or surrounded by, if you cut an apple you can see the seeds that are inside it. So if we look here, here are some seeds, or in this apple, here are some seeds. When we look at the apples that are not cut yet, we cannot see the seeds because the seeds are covered up by the apple. The apple is enclosing or surrounding the seeds. They're covering up the seeds. You can only see the seeds when you cut the apple open, and then here are seeds in the middle. Outside, this is the opposite of inside. Even when it is cold, Ava loves to play outside. So Ava is not inside the house. Ava is outside. And we know it is cold because we can see some frost or some snow. She has a hat and a scarf. She has gloves and a coat. And these pants look like special pants for wearing when it is cold outside, some snow pants. I bet if we could see her feet, she would have boots on because she is outside in the cold weather. How about you? Do you like to be outside when it is cold? Or do you prefer to stay inside? What about when it's very, very hot? Do you like to go outside in the hot weather and see the sunshine and get very warm? Or do you prefer to stay inside in the air conditioning? Here's another example of outside. It says, when I go to a cafe, I love to sit outside. I can enjoy the fresh air and watch people walking by. So here is the door to the cafe, and you can go inside the cafe and order your food. Or perhaps you sit down at your table and the waiter or the waitress, the server, comes to your table and takes your order, but they will go inside to get the food and bring it to you. There might be some tables inside, but the person in this example here likes to sit outside. They said they enjoy the fresh air and they like to watch people walking by. Sometimes that is fun to do, to watch when people are walking by and imagine, I wonder where they are going. I wonder what they are doing. That can be fun. Next to and beside. These mean the same thing. Next to and beside both mean to the side of. Brad stood next to the car. Brad stood beside the car. So the front of the car is here. We cannot see the back of the car, but it's that direction. So the front and the back, and here he is to the side. He is off to the side of the car. He is beside the car, or he is next to. Beside or next to the car. Another example of beside or next to, meaning to the side of. The friends sat next to one another in the grass. The friends sat beside one another in the grass. So that the front of the person, you can't not really see the back of the person. You can't see the back of this person, but here is the side of the person and the side of the person. They are sitting to the side of one another. They are beside one another or next to one another. It is not one person is sitting in the front and another person is in the back. Sometimes in school, you will sit in a row and there is someone whose chair is in front of you, and then there is you, and maybe there is someone who is sitting in back of you, but that is not the case here. Here, there is no one sitting in the front and no one sitting in the back. These two are next to or beside one another. Okay, near and close to. This should be pretty easy to understand, I think. Near and close to means a short distance away. So on this map, you can see Mongolia in the pink is near Russia, or Mongolia is close to Russia. Mongolia is near Russia. Mongolia is close to Russia, meaning if you are right here and you go not very far here from the pink to, this is kind of a yellow green color. You go from here to here, just a short distance, you are in Mongolia. Nope, now you are in Russia. So they are near or close to one another. That is not true with Ohio. In this map, Ohio is over here and Russia is here, and Ohio is far from Russia. You would have to take a plane and travel for many hours to go from Ohio to Russia. It is a long distance away. It is not a short distance, a long distance, because Ohio is far from Russia. Here's another example of near and close to, meaning a short distance away. I love to sit near my wife, or near to my wife. I love to sit close to my wife. It looks like these two are moving to a new home. They have boxes everywhere, and they are sitting on the floor, laughing. They're tired. They have been working very hard, but they are sitting on the floor next to one another. She is on the floor and he is not in front of her. He is not behind her. He is next to her, and they are very near. They are close to each other because they can touch one another. They are near one another. This person says, on my hike, I am far from all my friends and family. So here, this person is not like the husband and wife who can touch one another. This person can put their arms out as far as they can reach and not touch anyone. They can look as far in every direction as they can look and not see anyone, because they are a long distance away from their friends and family. They are out in the wilderness. The wilderness is someplace where there are not buildings, there are not really roads, there are not people. Well, maybe there is this person, one person, but there's not a group of people that are living or working there. This man is out in the wilderness. He is far from a city. He is far from a store. He is far from his friends and family. He is a long distance away. Okay, let's look at these prepositions and see if you remember the meanings. Again, I don't think that these are very hard, but maybe we'll have a question to answer. Let's see. So, in front of and in back of, in front of and in back of are opposite from one another. In front of had two meanings. Can you remember them? And in back of also had two meanings. And sometimes we say in back of, and sometimes we can say behind. They mean almost the same thing. Inside and outside. Inside and outside. These are opposite from one another. Next to and beside, these mean the same thing. Do you remember what it means to be next to or beside something? And then near and far, or close and far, these are opposites of one another. Let's look and see if you remembered the difference here. Oh, I clicked too hard. In front of, a position ahead of, or facing something. So you can be in front of the house that you are in front of, you are ahead of, you are farther ahead than the house. Or if you are facing something, perhaps you're looking at the mirror and your face is looking at the face in the mirror and the face in the mirror is looking at you. Now, sometimes there is not any face. If I say something is facing something else, perhaps I can say, where is the library? Oh, the library is on Main Street. It is across from the grocery store. The library and the grocery store face one another. They're facing something. They don't really, a grocery store doesn't have a face, a library doesn't have a face, but it means that if you imagine that the library has a face, the front of the library is in the direction that it would be looking at the front of the grocery store. So they are facing, the buildings are facing each other. Okay. But the opposite of being farther ahead is being farther back. So in back of or behind. You can be in back of the house. So there is the house and you are farther back than the house. The other meaning of in back of or behind can mean hiding. So if you're hiding behind the tree or you're hiding some flowers behind your back. And in this case, when we're using the hidden by meaning, I really think it's best to use behind. You're hiding behind the tree, you're hiding flowers behind your back. You could hide in back of the tree, but that doesn't sound as good to my ears. It makes sense, but it doesn't sound as good. Now, inside and outside are opposite. Inside, you are enclosed by or surrounded by something. All of the walls of the house, if you are inside the house, all of the walls, the doors, the windows are covering you. You are enclosed or surrounded by the house. And here you are outside, the opposite of inside. Children like to play outside. There are no walls, windows, doors covering you. You are outside. Next to and beside means to the side of. He sat next to me in class. He sat beside me in class. So he is not in the front of me. He is not behind me. He is to my side. He is next to or beside me. And then near and far or close and far are opposite. A short distance away or a long distance away. The school is near my house. The school is close to my house. So if my house is close to the school, probably I can easily walk to the school. The store is far from my house. If the store is far from my house, it will either take a long time to walk there, or maybe I will need to take a car or a bus, a subway, some way I need to travel to get to the store that is far from my house. Now, just quickly, before we finish, the question that I would like to answer is slightly the difference between in and inside. In and inside. So if we just take just these first two letters, in, they have kind of the same idea, in, but when you say inside, then it really does mean that you are enclosed or surrounded. Something is covering you. You can be in the park. I live in Ohio. I am in the state of Ohio. I am in the United States of America, but there is no wall or window or something could be inside of a box. Something could be, like we said, the seeds are inside of the apple. There is no box. There is no wall. There is nothing covering me if I am in Ohio or in the United States. But if I said I live inside Ohio, that sounds kind of strange or kind of funny, because nothing is covering me inside of Ohio. Nothing is enclosing me or surrounding me. But we put the letter inside the mailbox, means it's all the way down inside and it is covered up, or the seeds are inside the apple. So that's the difference between in and inside. And one other quick question. We talked about Ohio is far from Russia. Ohio is far from Russia, but you might have the question, what is near Ohio, or what is close to Ohio? Perhaps you listen to the teachers of CINCILINGUA and you wonder, I wonder what part of the country they live in. I wonder what is near them. So let's look here. This is not a great copy of a map, but this pink here is Ohio, and Ohio has a lake to the north. Pennsylvania is here, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Indiana. And then this green here that is a little bit above Ohio is Michigan. Now, CINCILINGUA is in Cincinnati. That is very, very close between Ohio and Kentucky. As a matter of fact, the Ohio River goes right here between Ohio and Kentucky. And when I'm standing in Ohio next to the river, I can see Kentucky and I can walk across the bridge to get to Kentucky. So Ohio, at least especially Cincinnati, is close to Kentucky. Now, it might look on this map that Ohio is close to Florida, but it really is not. The United States is very big. It takes probably, I'm guessing here, 13, 14, maybe 15 hours to drive from, depending on which part of Ohio, to Florida. It takes, I think I remember 8 hours to drive to New York, about 6 or 7 hours to drive to Washington, D.C. If I want to drive from Ohio to California, that is here in the pink, from here, down, in a car, it will take 35 or 36 hours. That is 3 days. So you can see that the United States is very big. But the things that are close to Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Lake Erie. Things that are far from Ohio, besides Russia, Florida, California, New York, kind of Washington, D.C. All right, let's see here. Let me close that. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope that we will see you at the next lesson with CINCILINGUA live classes.